there's this like a disruptive kind of workshop panel, so I'll be a little bit disruptive, and I'll I'll share a little bit about what's happening in Puerto Rico, because we feel that all of this is connected. And first of all, I would like to mention that being in the COP and also being in spaces like this, also in the US, is an opportunity for Puerto Rico to speak for ourselves. We have a colonial context with the US. We've been more than 500 years a colony, first of Spain and then the US. So it is important, like, the US government doesn't speak for us, right? So I'll share a little bit about what's happening in Puerto Rico. We just flew from Puerto Rico. We passed what was Hurricane Fiona. It was a Category 1 hurricane. We passed it recently. It lasted 3 days of nonstop rain, heavy winds, on already saturated soils. That's very important to mention. We've been having rains that are not so expected for these times, but because of climate change, it's happening, like for 3 weeks before Hurricane Fiona. So soil was very saturated and provoked a lot of like landslides and other effects. Already, according to the information that the government is saying, we have already 8 deaths during this hurricane, and we have most of the islands of Puerto Rico are without access to electricity or access to water. Even though the government and this private company that is holding like the grid in Puerto Rico are saying that they're aspiring of getting like the grid back in like record time, that's not officially happening. And also we wanted to share about our vulnerability. We are located in the Caribbean. We're part of the global south. So for us, we completely understand that this is going to continue happening if especially the global north keeps participating on an active fossil fuel economy. And also an economic model, like Benicio was saying, that extracts from Mother Earth, like if there were no limits, and exploits every form of life. So it's no wonder that these solutions that are being given by these governments are responding to that logic, right? Not the logic of our communities, not the logics of our ancestors, and that is very important to why we need to hold and be present in those spaces. And I also wanted to mention that there is a big challenge in Puerto Rico with a law that the government has put into order, where they're promoting people from outside, from different parts of the world, and many come from the US, that have a lot of money to come to invest in Puerto Rico and not pay any taxes, right? So we've been having the challenge of access to land, access to housing, because the prices go up once these people come to invest. So that's something that there's a lot of mobilization, a lot of direct actions on the street to eliminate that law. But it's also a challenge that we're bringing. I have a lot of notes, and I know this is like a collective panel, so I'll be wrapping up and mentioning a few other information. I think one of the main lectures of being in spaces like the COP, even though it could be like a little bit like Benicio said, like traumatizing, because a lot of stuff happens there, and once you go out, the so-called solutions that these multinationals and governments are making are not real solutions, are false solutions, they just want to keep making money. Let's do carbon markets, right? Let's not address the systemic cost. Let's not address the root cause, that we already have models that are on the ground happening. It's not like, oh, that's too old school, that's antique. No, these are models that are working on the ground, that we've proven them, at least from the work that we do in our organization, and also at the global level. It is very important to mention that 70% of the food that is produced worldwide is produced by small-scale farmers on mainly sustainable farms, with 30% of the access to arable land, to land. They're doing that. So multinationals have more than like 70% of access of the land, but they are producing for far less food. So I think it is very important to have that into consideration, because in the context of Puerto Rico, they try to eliminate the farming class, like the workers class. Because imagine a nation that can feed herself, that can have access to land and provide for their community and their family. What does that bring? So this government, especially US government, has done everything to influence different parts of the world to dismantle that, to provoke dependency, even in republics, right? We can say, oh, there's a republic, everything, there's colonizer governments, right? So I think that is very important, and what happens in the COPs with alliances and groups is very powerful, because it's non-stop work. You waking up very early, you're being in solidarity with indigenous communities, with BIPOC initiatives across the world, some that you know, some that you get to know during that experience, and it makes you feel a lot less alone, like there's global challenges to this work. It's not like, oh, I thought it was only in our communities, right? So it also opens the space to have a exchange of knowledge at the global level, at the regional level. We've met a lot of Caribbean nations in spaces like this that are very difficult to access, because the Caribbean, we're all islands, and there's a lot of threats and challenges between our governments to stay connected.